Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with prim and proper sports featuring Sonja Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV.
National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
Good morning and welcome to the Sunday morning sports show. I am sitting in for Mac. Mac, we miss you. We love you. You and Miss Linda. Shout out to you guys over at the Roku station. I'm joined by Jack, J-Train, Keith, and B. Strilla. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you all today?
Good morning.
All righty. So let's get started. Got some big news coming out of sports as always, and we're here to bring it to you. Keith, why don't you start us off here? And guys, I'm going to be kind of behind the scenes for a few minutes, but I am here. But just let's get started. Here it is. A good morning to everyone.
Well, there's obviously lots going on in the world of sports. Some of it we can't talk about because we don't want to get Mac mad. We don't want to talk Masters golf today. So we'll talk. I'll bring up one of the big stories in college football is Nico Iamaleava. I can never say his name right. I'm close. That's all that matters, I guess.
Oh, that's good.
Their sophomore quarterback now, who was getting $8 million before he was recruited with an $8 million NIL package over 4 years, played one season, got $2 million, and decided he wanted to hold out before the spring game, stop coming to practice, stop coming to meetings. And right after, I think just before the spring game, Josh Heupel said, everybody's all in or everybody's out, basically. And Nico is now looking for a new team and moving on. And it's, again, one more step in removing the illusion of amateurism in college sports, because NIL isn't and never was about name, image, and likeness. It's about pay per play, and that's it. That's all it's ever been. And now there's no illusions about what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I agree with that, Keith. I mean, I'm intrigued to see where he plays because, when you look at how he did at Tennessee, he wasn't that great. I mean, he was a mixed bag, I think. And so it's kind of like I think Heupel is calling his bluff because go find another team and try to get more money where you think you can get it. And I don't think that's going to happen. I just think that his value it was exorbitant in his own head, in his own mind, and maybe his team. And $8 million for 4 years or whatnot is actually pretty incredible to get. I mean, for the play that he gave, I would say
at the time deal that had been given, right? And to your point about he threw 16 touchdowns last year. 11 of them were against, I think, 2 teams that were below FBS1 and one of the lower ranked teams in NCAA. And he's not that great a player to be able to think he can renegotiate and double. He wanted to go to $4 million from $2 million. And there's some talk he's from the LA area. UCLA's looking for another quarterback. And the spring portal opens here next week, I believe, within the next 10 days or so. So there'll be some movement. There were some rumors last night. I love the internet that Manny was spotted. Arch Manny was spotted at the Knoxville airport, which is baloney. But it's just more craziness in NCAA football. And I think he will find out. Maybe this is an interesting test case again. A guy declaring free agency, basically. And this is the difference between the NFL and college football. College football, you can hold out, but at the end of the day, you're still tied to that team by a contract unless they move you. In college football, you are literally a free agent every single year. And we'll see if his value is what he thinks it is.
And good morning to you, Brent. Thank you so much for always joining us. And you guys make sure you download the Roku app so you too are in the know when breaking news is coming, just like the ones we're bringing now with Keith Engel. All right, gentlemen, carry on.
Voice of God.
Yeah. Wait, where are you? So it does open the Pandora's box, though, Keith, Jack, and Strilla, and Sonja, where you are. It opens the Pandora's box that, like, now NIL really is. It needs to have some sort of regulation because now you're going to start having guys holding now. He's just the first of many coming. It's like, if he can do it, now I can do it. I can get more money. And you're going to have these guys that are like lesser mid-tier players that are doing this too as well, trying to thinking to have more value to get more money. And it's just going to be chaos, total chaos.
Yeah. These renegotiations have gone on the last, 4 or 5 years, whatever, but always behind the scenes. We've never had one played out in public like this. Right, the top players, the guys moving around the NIL, and that's the other thing. There's no tampering restrictions that I can see. These teams are talking to these players all season long when they're not supposed to be. Probably, I don't think there's a single regulation in there about tampering. Talk to a kid at any point in time, and so again, these renegotiations have gone on, but this is the first one that we've seen really play out in public.
I mean, Keith, let's talk about that for a minute. I honestly think, and maybe it's just my mindset, I want your take on this and everybody else chime in. The tampering, the rules and everything that surrounds that, do you think that one day and probably sooner than later, that will be no more, or it'll be at least a reduced amount of restriction on that?
Yeah, again, on the NCAA level, I'm not sure there is any. I've never heard or seen one thing on paper that restricts conversations with players. I mean, if they weren't talking during the seasons, you wouldn't see kids hit the portal and move like one day after the portal opens. You see hundreds of players moving around. If they're not having conversations with other schools, how's that happen? Mm-hmm. Do I see it changing? I see it getting more restrictive. It has to, Sonja. And there's got to be stronger contract language on the NIL or whatever we want to call things going forward as far as player contracts in college sports. There's got to be stricter tampering rules. There's got to be a lot of things to restrict this because we've said it a lot of times, and it literally is a wild, wild west because you can do whatever you want right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, when they started free agency in baseball, Charlie Finley, the old-time Oakland Athletic owner, said let them all become free agents every single year. And Marvin Miller, the head of Major League Baseball, thought that was going to be a disaster, was going to devalue the players. Could something be worked out in college sports where a university signs a deal with a kid, gives him X amount of money up front, and he can only go to the transfer portal maybe once during his college career, and that's it? Some type of thing to get worked out.
I think you'll see that type of restriction, Jack. You can't let these kids be free agents 4 or 5. It's not just 4 years. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 or 6 years straight. You see kids. JT Daniels, I think, went to 6 colleges in 6 years, for crying out loud. It's crazy out there right now, and they've got to rein this in somehow because again, it's not just the Wild West on one side; it's the Wild West on both sides. And I don't know how you coach in this environment, quite frankly. whether it's basketball, football, any sport. How do you coach when you don't even know what your roster is going to look like tomorrow?
Absolutely. Good
Well,
morning.
I would have to give a contrast to that, Keith. It looks like it worked out for Cam Ward. I mean, he's been to like 3 or 4 schools,
Yeah,
and then at the end it worked out for him. But I agree with you. I do agree that there has to be some sort of and Jack, I agree there has to be some sort of cap. But it's just like the caveat is like somebody like him to improve every time he's going to another school. I mean, it's been improvement.
you know, and it's going to be just like any other professional sport, unfortunately, because we'll be talking about salary caps. We'll be talking about, you know, caps that teams can spend for players and tampering restrictions. And then what will the penalties look like for that? We'll have a whole new set of penalties that the NCAA will have trouble enforcing, of course, because they don't know how to do that. They call the FBI, they call Congress to help them enforce whatever regulations they think they.
We were on the same level there, Keith. I was going to call it the Wild Wild West too, because that's exactly what's going. I mean, when you created an NIL, I mean, it's like putting together something real quick just to satisfy the masses without, you know, looking at stipulations that might happen in the future, and that's what irritates me the most about the whole situation. I mean, foresee this stuff. Just don't make stuff and just go with it. Have some rules.
You're right.
The only problem with that is that there were rules to keep this NIL from happening, but it was happening anyway. It was just happening under the table or behind closed doors.
Who would have thought we'd been better off on an old system where they were doing it, like you said, in back alleys and under the table? We probably were better off then, quite frankly. And Brett's got a great comment in there about Underwood transferring to Michigan for like $12 million over 2 or 3 years. I don't remember what it was. But these kids don't even make it to the school they commit to. So we talk about them transferring during their college career. Some of them don't even make it to where they were first committed to and getting money theoretically from. I'm sure they've had to return that money. I have no idea. There's no contract law
regulations.
I'm sure there are some. We don't know what they are. If I take money from a school and don't ever show up, I'm sure I got to pay it back, or they're going to take me to court, I would think. But who knows? I don't know what the restrictions are. I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, because if there's no regulations to actually that you were supposed to be doing it to begin with, then you don't have anything to safeguard you when you try to go back against that money.
Well, in the case of that kid that went to Michigan, he committed to LSU. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, right.
My heart was broken when he decided to go. Michigan put out a whole bunch of money in front of him. He couldn't resist it. And of course, he's from Michigan, so he stays home. He gets the money, and I'm all for it too. And that saved LSU a whole bunch of money to where they can get a whole bunch of players. How they were able to have like the best transfer portal sort of free agency and get a whole bunch of players, because all the money they were going to give to this kid ended up going to those kids.
You know,
so, yeah.
Even outside of the money, we talk about the money all the time. We talk about, you know, lots of stuff when it comes to this. But what do we teach? What are the kids learning? By the way, they're still, by the way, molding into hopefully productive young men in the world, because they're not all going to go to the NFL, or they're going to get hurt and not play long. And they need to be productive citizens. And what are we teaching the kids when you make a commitment and you don't need to honor it? I meant that yesterday, but I don't mean it today. And I can just willy-nilly pick up and do whatever I want for whatever reason. Things aren't going well. I don't like the coach. I want to play more. I mean, there's reasons to be able to transfer. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying a kid should be locked in for 4 years wherever he goes. I mean, it used to be that way because kids would have to sit out 2 years almost when you go back in the day. And it was really hard to transfer. And there were penalties. Now there's none, and you also don't teach the kid any sense of value and commitment, accountability. Use whatever adjectives you want to use.
And I think that would stunt their education too, wouldn't it? You're going from different colleges, and you're not getting. I mean,
there's the thing.
Every college has a different way to teach.
That's the thing.
This is the way it is.
Breslin, that's an excellent point, and it got brought up a couple times in some articles I've seen recently. That how do these kids manage to move all their credits around? You know, every year they get their credits transferred just like that from college to college. It's not that easy in the real world.
Mm-mm.
In the real world, it's not easy, but in college sports, it is easy because the incoming college will take care of it.
Well, there's a lot of kids with no credits to transfer probably anyway, so there's that too.
Let's welcome in Nate. I know he's working. Good morning, Nate.
Hello, Nate.
What's going on, Nate?
Probably making a delivery right now. Anyway, just jumping back in when we can. Yeah, Keith, this is just one of those situations that it's just like, okay, you have to have some type of boundaries in some way. But we talk about this all the time. There is a change across the board in not only the interests of sports, but also the integrity of sports. Like, we just are not seeing the same, my word is my bond on my contract or any of that stuff, or my signature in this day and age. So, as they say, the verdict is still out on just what's going to happen with this situation.
Well, you get the law background. But I don't think you're supposed to write contracts in pencil. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to do that.
Well,
that's what all these contracts
I've actually learned that contracts can be oral or written. That's kind of the thing.
Well, that's true.
Realize.
That's a great point. Matters everywhere but NCAA football, apparently. Your word and oral contracts don't mean nothing in paper contracts. I'm sure there are contracts being signed by some of these kids. There's just too much money involved not to get some kind of commitment on paper, and they don't seem to need to honor those either. So,
A lot of hard-working napkins out there.
Right?
Napkins. That's actually an illustration that
crayons is what they're filling them out in from.
colored pencils that fade. All right, guys. So definitely going to keep an eye out on that one. Let's switch to a little NBA news. We're going to build on up to this big news out of the NFL. Don't you worry, Jack. And so NBA, Denver kind of out there a dangler now that this whole Malone shakeup has occurred. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Well, I'll jump in real quick because I'll be here the shortest time. Real quick, I want to talk. The Knicks are locked in now to the Pistons. And the Knicks are going to have a tough go of it here in the first round. The Pistons are going to finish behind them in the standings. But Pistons have played some pretty good basketball the second half of the season. And Cade Cunningham has ripped the Knicks up in 3 games this year. I mean, he has gone off just as early as last week for some big numbers. And if the Knicks don't find a way to improve their defense, the Knicks are going out in round 1. I hate to say that, but they're getting healthy. They're scoring points. They've got a better scoring options than maybe the Pistons have as far as second options. But if they don't play some defense and Cunningham goes off, then it's going to be a very short postseason for the Knicks, I'm afraid. And out west, you got 3 teams trying to stay out of the play-in round. I think today, every team's playing today, right? Everybody was off yesterday, and everybody's playing today. Everybody's locked in, I think, in the West, right? But I think there's still some positioning to be worked out. But some of it worked itself out on Friday.
Yeah, Keith, you're right about about Detroit versus Knicks, man. And that's been a knock on Karl Anthony Towns, is that he's just really not a great defender. Or when the rubber meets the road, he just doesn't seem to step up to the moment. And when he was in Minnesota, they had opportunities to beat Dallas last year, but man, Dallas just took it to him, and those bigs just handled him, and he seemed to fold a little bit. And so I'm wondering if the same thing's going to happen in New York. Here, he's a great offensive player, but I just don't see much defense out of him.
Yeah. Perhaps a lot of rebounding. He's played well. I think the key would be someone like Mikal Bridges, who hasn't quite been the player the Knicks hoped they'd be, and they gave up a it's not going to be a good deal, even though they got back around down with the Knicks and a good play and Bridges. But he hasn't taken it up to the next level, where they thought he would.
That's a big deal too, because the Knicks are short. I mean, the bench is short too. That's another problem for the Knicks. You always shorten your bench in the playoffs anyway, but the quality coming off the bench for the Knicks is not even what it was for me, in my view, the last year or two. Certainly not last year. When they were healthy, they had a really strong bench, and this year it's like 2 guys that I can count on night in and night out. So
Yeah, I think that's really what's going to change that series is the bench. I mean, Detroit's got a really good bench, and they don't really. I mean, they don't have a secondary scorer, a secondary guy to Cade, but everybody steps up. It could be any player coming off the bench, or it could be any starter that's scoring, points with him. Tobias, Beasley, any of those guys. So at any given night, one person could score along with Cade, and that could be, the difference between winning and losing that night.
And he's one of, and you know this better than I do, Mr. Phillip, that Cade Cunningham, I think, is one of the guys, the best players least talked about in this league. He's a really, really good player, and he's been a superstar. He's been an MVP player against the Knicks this year. He's been fabulous.
I think he's averaged like 35 points a game against them.
At least 35, yeah. He's had like triple doubles, I think, all 3 times or close to him. So he's just fabulous, for sure.
Yeah, he's awesome.
There's
We'll
a
see.
lot of competition.
First round. Yeah, and it's the first time the Pistons been in the playoffs since I think 2019. So it's going to be a young team. I think that JB will have the guys revved up for it. But like I said, it's the first playoff for these guys in a while, and it is against a pretty tough New York Knicks team. So we'll see.
We didn't talk about it Friday, too. Playoffs are a different experience, right? And not having playoff experience or success can really make a difference as well. So that's a great point.
Exactly.
And that's why I worry about OKC out West a little bit. As great as those players are, those young players are, there's not a lot of playoff success history there. And they could be susceptible to that at some point, because I think the West is really deep with much deeper than the East with at least semi-quality teams, right?
I think the playoff experience thing is completely overrated. It sounds good. It's not like a one-team narrative at all. They don't have the experience. Another team like Golden State has been there, but they play so many games during the regular season. They play against one another constantly. They have that familiarity. And the Pistons and Knicks, Pistons have the season's been incredible success. They're playing with house money. All the pressure on the Knicks there. They lose to the Pistons. The season's going to wash out.
Oh, for sure. And again, everybody, has their own opinion. I think playoff experience matters because intensity ratchets up a lot. Game 1 of the playoffs as compared to, game 42 of the regular season. So I think there's
not only does playoff experience matters, but having key matchups as well. You mentioned OKC. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is obviously an MVP candidate, and he's like their best player. But can you name another person that's considered an all-star or that's considered like Robin to his Batman that would give him help on that team in the playoffs when it matters? I can't think of any name on that team that says that you would match up well with the second best player on another team that would help propel you to the next level, which means Western Conference Finals or NBA Finals. I mean, does anyone have any names?
They're not good enough. They're not deep enough. It's got nothing to do with experience. If they don't have the Robin to the Batman, Holmgren, would he be helping out, Alexander? I mean, I don't know. But that's not an experience type thing, whether they're good enough OKC or not. I mean, they're winning close to 60 games. They're obviously outstanding. But come playoff time, it's another matter. Golden State.
For sure.
73-win season sets a record, yet they blew a 3-1 lead to Cleveland. That had nothing to do with playoff experience.
Well, I think Cleveland had plenty of playoff experience that helped them overcome that 3-1 deficit. So I could argue that as well. But I'm not really trying to take anything away from OKC. They've had a great season. They've got some great young players. They're coached well. Again, I got to talk about something other than just, Oklahoma City's going to face off against Cleveland. I mean, anybody can do that. I think that there are some dark horses in the West that you can say can get there. It's not just Cleveland and Boston, like it probably is in the East.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you guys. There maybe is a negative playoff experience in the case of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who never seem to get it done come playoff time. So maybe that's a factor in reverse. It might be inside their head. They've never been able to get over the top.
Yeah. And that's part of what I'm talking about. The same thing, not just experience necessarily, but positive experience as well. Right. And you're right. Cleveland has had a history of flopping out fairly early several times here. And maybe they'll overcome that this year. There's a few new faces, so we'll see.
Yeah, they haven't. They're not ending the season very well, though. They're having a lot of trouble. They're getting beat by teams they shouldn't be getting beat by, and at the beginning of the season, during midway through, they were killing teams. And now they're just getting beat by everybody. That's not a good look going into the playoffs. I'm sorry.
Knicks 0-3. That's another reason I'm a little worried about the Knicks. They're 0-3 in their last 3 starts. So.
Well, I think some teams in an absolute win now mode. I don't think the Cavaliers are one of them because I have a young team and they have their nucleus set for the future. Allen, Mobley, Mitchell. Look at a team like the LA Clippers who've been pretty well down the stretch. They've got to get it done now because they don't look at the window.
Jack, you at the airport today? Where are you?
No, that's not me. I don't think that's me.
It's not you?
No, it's you, Jack.
It's you, Jack.
It's me. I'm going to go off and then come back on. Okay?
All right.
I thought he goes away and then comes back. So.
All right. So Chief, let me get your take real quick. We'll have to switch gears here for just a minute because I know you got to run.
Yep.
I want to get your take here, and thank you so much for joining us. You guys make sure you tune on over to Keith Engel Stream of Consciousness today, starting at 8:30. Shows throughout the entire week. He's just such a great addition.
Thank you.
Keith, big news, back and forth, or big talk, or whatever should I say. The Shedeur Sanders saga continues. Now, looks like Jack, of all people, possibly could have been right about saying that he may have a chance in New Orleans, as you guys say. I say New Orleans, y'all say New Orleans. What is your thoughts? And Jack has returned with this.
He's an interesting case. That's why we talk about a lot, right? Not a great talented draft. There's some good players, and I think it's deep as far as decent talent. There's no outstanding name, or not very few outstanding names, I should say. But Shedeur Sanders is such an interesting case because I guess somebody could take him second. I guess a lot of talk about the Jets, and it's mostly Jet fans that think he might go 7. Now the Saints are the spot. But I got to tell you, I just don't feel like the Saints are going to take him. I think they're going to trade out of there. And if they don't trade out of there for somebody that does want him, say Pittsburgh, then he's going to fall to 21, where I think the Steelers are. That's where he's going to end up. So.
Is that no? I hate to cut in. Is the noise coming from my end?
It's good now.
Your voice is better. Background noise there a little bit, but you're good.
No, I mean, you're fine. Yeah, but yeah.
There's a comment Brett had about actually trading with New Orleans for that. He started off the show, so I have it posted up here now. What are your thoughts on that in regards to this? I mean, I know it's a toss-up at this point, honestly.
I'm sorry, who was going to trade?
Brett has got the comment up there. I put it up there so you guys can see.
Oh, Brett.
About
trading with the Lions and moving up to number 9, so they can. Why would the Lions move up there, Russ? I don't see why they would move up.
Right.
You can answer that better than I can.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, they could move up. I mean, they could move up to get maybe Holmes likes a defensive end or something at that position. That's the only way they would. I don't see them trading Hendon Hooker. Sorry, don't see it to happen.
People are throwing things out there completely because they have nothing better to talk about.
We got
because they want
always had
us to buy into it and to talk about it. So they
too much
just
time
throw it out there.
It's that time of the year. Always happens.
And then nothing happens that we think will happen anyway.
Right.
Yeah, like the Aaron Rodgers Entrance to Heaven party.
No, wait. I said all along Shedeur Sanders is projected to go to the Saints, so it might not happen. It intrigues me Cleveland at number 2. That's the X factor because they haven't addressed their quarterback situation. I don't know what they're thinking this season. Are they really thinking, Pickett, Flacco, and Watson combination for this year? It just doesn't make sense to me. So what exactly are they thinking? Odds are they're going to pick someone in the second round that they like one of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I got to run, but I've said for a while that if the Cleveland Browns don't take him at 2, he falls to 21.
Absolutely. Keith, thanks for joining us today. Keith Engel, everybody. Have a great one, Keith. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.
See
All
you,
right,
Jack.
have a good one, man.
Bye-bye.
All right. So yeah, Jack, you were saying, continue on because that's a valid point. Cleveland now has given Joe Flacco a year, and it seems like they're doing everything but really addressing the elephant in the room.
Yeah, but as far as Shador Sanders strapping the Steelers at 21, I get the feeling the Rams might try to jump up ahead of the Steelers if that scenario was going to unfold. For Sanders to be their quarterback of the future. We don't know what they think of these, other quarterbacks like Will Howard, Ewers, Jalen Milrow. We just don't know what they think. Whether they like one of those guys in the second round.
Look, if Cleveland doesn't take them, there's a chance that, to me, that some other teams after Cleveland will take Shador Sanders. But let's just say, hypothetically, he does fall to 9. The fact that the Saints put out that Derek Carr has a shoulder injury and likely will miss the 2025 season, I think, to me, they're playing chess. They want to put it out in everybody's head, even though they still have to report it that he's not going to report the OTAs, but it's still being put out there before the draft to let everybody know, okay, we may want to draft a quarterback, so let's see who wants to move up. Somebody probably wants to move up. So maybe potentially the Steelers, who are all in, they'd had an interview with Shador Sanders. Obviously, it went well. They may perhaps want to trade up to 9 and willing to part ways with a second and a third round pick in 2025 or something else, maybe another a first round or a second round in 2026. And the Saints may potentially look to trade down because they do have Spencer Rattler there, and I think Spencer Rattler has potential to be the starter, especially now since Derek Carr is going to be out for the 2025 season potentially.
I don't
he
think
looked
anyone was
solid a few
taking
times
Derek.
too.
James, I don't think they're bluffing with Derek Carr, putting out he has an injury. No one in their right mind would feel that the Saints weren't going to draft a quarterback. But gee, we got Derek Carr. We don't need to draft a quarterback. I mean, come on. I mean, it's obvious the Saints need a quarterback. They're going to draft a quarterback unless they really like Spencer Rattler, Laden. All indications are that they don't.
But that's what I'm saying. That's actually what I'm saying. I'm saying putting it out there that Derek Carr is hurt puts more emphasis of a need for a quarterback. So maybe that all indications that they're probably going to draft a quarterback at 9, and that maybe that would if somebody wants to either draft ahead of them or potentially trade with them and see if they can. And the Saints maybe could get more of what they want out of a trade with someone. If somebody really wants that position bad enough.
I don't think what Jay Train's saying is that they were bluffing about his injury. I think his injury is legitimate, and they're going to put him on IR. But at the same time, I think what they did is when they mentioned it, they probably knew this all along. It was just a strategic time to say this, and I agree a little bit with what Jay Train is saying. I still think that you guys are going to get. Sanders looks as too good to be passing up in that position. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that could be an absolute shocker. I don't think it's going to happen. So don't say I said it's going to happen. But it could be this year's equivalent of the Falcons taking Michael Penix that threw everyone for a loop. New coach in Jacksonville, they haven't been too happy with Trevor Lawrence the way he's been looking. I mean, I can see it, even though I doubt if it's happen, then taking Shador Sanders. We know it sounds crazy. Trevor Lawrence is young. He's in the contract. New coach, new culture. He just might not be high on him. There's precedent. Look, the Patriots many moons ago, they signed, Drew Bledsoe to a record-setting contract. And guess what? He got moved out for Tom Brady. If they like Jacksonville, Shador Sanders enough, and they really don't like Trevor Lawrence, it's a gutsy move. I don't think it's going to happen, but I can see it, believe it or not.
I mean,
I just don't think so. Like you said, the amount of money that they paid Trevor Lawrence, and just like Jim Harbaugh, going to the Chargers. I mean, working with Herbert, he knows what he has in the building. and Herbert didn't have really good seasons, but he still stayed with him. I could see Cohen still staying with Trevor Lawrence and just building around him and putting emphasis on maybe drafting a running back, not fifth overall, but definitely helping their defense with Graham, as everyone has Mason Graham projected to go fifth overall. I just think Trevor Lawrence, there's too much money tied to him to draft a quarterback and not have success for a new what should we say, a new coach and drafting a quarterback that you probably it's not going to even play.
I agree with you 100%, but if they're really high on Shador Sanders and they think he's a franchise quarterback and they don't feel that way about Trevor Lawrence, despite the money, I could conceivably see them doing it, Jacksonville. Conceivably. I doubt it, but it's not as crazy as it appears on the surface.
This is going to be a weird draft. I'm telling you, this is going to be a big shakeup in the top 3 or 4. People are going to see teams that are drafted. I thought they were going to draft him. Nope. It's going to come down to that.
And teams also, they shouldn't devalue certain players after 1 year. I mean, I'll give you an example. If I'm the Jets, I'm picking 7 overall. Last year, Arizona took Marvin Harrison, number 4 overall. If I'm the Jets, I offer my first-round selection, number 7 overall, for Marvin Harrison, and maybe the Cardinals make the deal at this point. But certain players get devalued a little after 1 year, and oftentimes it's circumstances. Marvin Harrison has Kyler Murray throwing time. Maybe the chemistry was a little off. Not that Marvin Harrison was bad. He was okay. He just wasn't as good as Malik Neighbors was for the Giants. But certain deals you could still make. Certain players are still as good as you thought they were. But based on 1 year, we think of them being slightly devalued.
I mean, yeah, we definitely see that all the time. And that's why it's such a toss-up. Like, every week we're talking about this, and this is what they want. They want the hype around it. This is what makes it exciting. But now, at this point, it's just like, okay, guys, what are we doing here?
Jack, I like to wager with you. I think the Saints never trade down. This is not the MO of Mickey Loomis. He never trades down. As a matter of fact, he does the opposite. He always trades up. It's history showing that he traded up for Marcus Davenport in 2018. He trades up for players what's the kid last name? Kool-Aid McKinstry. He traded up for him in the second round. It's just, I think this may be the year that they trade back because of how valuable number 9 is. I mean, number 9 is it's a premium player. It's like a 10-year franchise player, whether it be a offensive lineman, defensive tackle. We need all these players. We need a cornerback. We need a wide receiver. We need a quarterback. We need everything you can think of, the kitchen sink. I would just say that potentially, because of how valuable number 9 is, I like to wager you and say that they go back for the first time in a long time. The Saints trade back, and they may trade back with the Steelers. They'll allow the Steelers to get up and get.
I don't think so. I don't think number 9 is as valuable as you think it is. I mean, for who you could select there. I mean, I just don't see it. You're not talking about number 2 and number 3 in the draft. The Steelers have never really made the bold moves. I could see the Steelers taking one of the other quarterbacks. The question is this: how do we know what the Saints are thinking? Maybe they like Jackson Dart more than Shador Sanders. If that's the case, then I could see them maybe moving back a little bit in the first round.
Yeah, and then at 21, sorry, is it me? I'm having problems.
No, I'm saying good morning, David. He was coming on.
Oh, sorry. So look, Jackson Dart will be a better pick at 21. Yes, I agree with you, because not only do you get a quarterback more of a value, who's probably valued more so a second rounder, but that's one of the players that most teams will probably move up into the later part of the first round so that they can get that 5th-year option. And so at 21, you can get Jackson Dart, which he's projected to go to the Steelers on some mock draft. I think I would prefer to collect a little bit of a ransom and get some extra picks in the second and third round and collect a quarterback at 21, and then get whatever else you need, because there's a lot of great players. We can go over a top 50 amount of players here that you can collect. If those things I mentioned that we needed, we can actually collect them in the second and third round.
But you're not going to get extra picks at number 9 that are substantial. You're not going to get a couple extra number 2s, number 3s, or whatever. You know,
Well, no, I mean, we have 2 third rounders already, and we have a second rounder, but you definitely will get a second rounder. And so to me, I have a second.
You get 1 second rounder. You move from 9 to 21, and you get a second rounder too. Yeah, that's.
I mean, in this draft, though, I mean, you can address that kind of stuff because it's really like I think we've all agreed this draft isn't the greatest draft, but at the same time, it's like a draft to put people in positions. You might get that that gold chalice. You know what I'm saying? In one of those rounds, you never know. But another player that's moving up in the draft talks is Milroe. And a lot of people don't want to say stuff about that. But he's moving up. He's getting that traction. So you never know.
What happens. This is what happens every year. It always happens. And Milroe, to me, my comp for Milroe is Taysom Hill. That's my comp for him. And Taysom Hill went undrafted. He ran a 4.3 and a 40, believe it or not. He can throw the ball. He was injured a lot. And he obviously played these other positions, but he wanted to play quarterback. And so I think most people looked at him as like, okay, you're not. And he went to BYU, and he was good. He was good enough. But the position that he took finally is where he's a utility guy. And I could see Milroe being a utility guy. I just can't see him being an every down quarterback with the play that I saw at Alabama that was just on and off. He had a few games here. Yes, he showed you what he can do. But even in the Reese Bowl, the Senior Bowl, in his combine, the pro day, you could see the stuff that's a problem. And that's not something you can just straight away fix right away. I mean, it's possible if you change the mechanics, but you walk like a duck, you quack like a duck, usually you're a duck. And I think that if he were willing to look at like teams that say, hey, this is what we got a plan for you. We want to do this, and say, we'll draft you in this. We could see you around the second or third round. We'll take you for this. I don't think he's going to do that. And then the NFL draft invited him to the draft. So there's like you said, moving up. They're probably expecting some teams to take him in the first or second round.
That is insane.
Crazy stuff has happened.
That is insane. He is a 5th round talent. I absolutely shouldn't be taken in the first 3 rounds. The 4th round is a bit of a stretch for Milroe. He's the second coming of Tim Tebow without the buzz. Okay? That's basically what he is. I mean, what other positions can he really be effective at? You're saying he could be another Taysom Hill. I mean, a guy like Hill would have been on reflection with the value he's shown, he would have been the equivalent of a 3rd round draft choice, so on, let's say.
Exactly. And I agree with you there. I agree with what you said about the 5th rounder if he's taken as a quarterback alone. 3rd rounder if he's taken as a utility player, if some team has a vision for him, like maybe Denver, Taysom Hill was Sean Payton's guy. Maybe he does the same thing here and takes Jalen Milroe as that type of player. And you see the value of a Taysom Hill now. So now you're going to look and say, yeah, maybe he's a 3rd or maybe even a 2nd rounder. And so because you see the vision of what you can.
Don't keep moving them up. Come on now, please.
You see the vision of him and what you can get out of it. I just think that, that might be a stretch, but a 3rd rounder as a utility player. But as a quarterback standing, no, I agree with you. I think he's more of a 5th rounder.
I take Hendon Hooker ahead of him. What's with Hooker's situation? People thought he was talented enough to possibly be a starter in the league, but because of the injury factors and all, is he going to be a career backup there with the Lions or what?
Well, he's got no choice now because Goff has been signed to a contract for 3 more years. So
is he good enough? Is he good enough to start? I
Well,
think that
apparently he wasn't good enough to take over for Goff when he went out in the
right.
divisional playoffs. I mean, they put Teddy Bridgewater in there, which was still a good choice because Teddy went down there and scored a touchdown. But the point of the matter is, they didn't feel that after that game, they didn't feel that Hooker was going to. They didn't want to put Hooker in that situation. And if you're a backup, if you're the number 2 backup, that's the situation you might have to find yourself in. So if you can't, if they don't feel comfortable with you, obviously he's not coming along like they want him to come along. So I don't know.
I mean, when you look at the league now, look at the primary backups for a lot of teams. Didn't Trey Lance just sign with the Chargers? Is he going to be Justin Herbert's main backup? Zach Wilson is Tua's main backup in Miami. I mean, just look at these guys. I mean, they might actually be getting a lot of playing time. So if a guy can't be a main backup in the league, there's a problem.
Well, that's why a lot
Yeah.
of teams. This is the reason why we're having this quarterback thing. Milrow going up. A lot of teams are looking for. Now we're looking for the traditional running quarterback. There's nobody in this draft really that's a passing quarter. I mean, just a stationary quarterback. Everybody is pretty much a physical running quarterback. So, and that's what the way the NFL is going. That's the way it is. So, I mean, a lot of teams are just getting people just to be getting people right now because they feel that the quarterback environment is not that rich, but it's rich enough to have as a back. You get one of these guys as a backup because that's basically all they're going to be for the rest of their career as backups. I really don't see any of these quarterbacks really doing any starting except Cam Ward, and maybe Shador if he gets lucky. But I don't like any of the quarterbacks in this draft, to tell you the truth.
I mean,
I just don't.
Miami actually needs, they even Dolphin fans have been talking about the fact that Tua is on, thin ice these days. Tua Tagovailoa, of course, the Miami's main quarterback. Of course, injuries and just lack of performance when he is playing. I've just kind of heard the buzz going around. There's a question that pointed up here from Brent. He said, "Where is Tyler Show expected to be drafted? He seems to have a high ceiling."
I guess Cleveland. What do all of you think?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't see him in Cleveland. I really thought they need to draft a little bit higher than that. I mean, I know people don't believe Shador go there, but I thought, I don't
Cleveland's
like it.
probably not going to draft a quarterback at number 2, but they need a quarterback.
Yeah,
They've got to go in the second round to the best available. They probably, I think they go with Travis Hunter, number 2, overall in the draft. That's just my
yeah.
feeling. And then the Giants take Abdul Carter, and then, next quarterback to go, I think Shador's at number 9 with the Saints. That's the way I look at it. But they're number guys in the second round. The X factor, everyone. What about Quinn Ewers? How come no one's talking about him? Am I missing something here? I think he's good enough to be a starter.
He's
I
a
mean, they
mixed bag.
were, but not no
Sorry, go
more.
ahead.
Yeah, mixed.
Yeah, he's a mixed bag. He's getting some communication. I mean, I know the Saints talk to him, but he's probably a day 2, day 3 quarterback. Even though he's played well for the Texas Longhorns, he's had some moments where he's just like, well, where'd this guy come from? So I mean, I just think that which leads to another conversation. How come Arch Manning couldn't beat him out for the starting position? Look, I think he's a third round or later draft pick, Quinn Ewers,
Which
and
is killing me
he'll
because last year he was way up there as far as potential of being drafted in the number 1 spot, number 1 round. So it's weird. The quarterback situation in this draft is so weird.
Yeah, but guys, if you could hold Arch Manning off for 2 years, you could keep Arch Manning off the field for 2 years. I mean, there's got to be something there, logically. Even if I
there
haven't
is
seen the guy play at all, just the idea that
there
he's
is
kept Arch Manning off the field, I mean, that would be good enough for me to, draft the guy.
there is, but it also, I mean, you can flip the other side and say maybe there's not much to Arch Manning to say that
Mm-hmm.
he's not as good as people like to think because of that last name.
Yep.
Look, time will tell. We'll see next season when he plays. But to me for Arch Manning, that's a red flag. It's like he couldn't beat this guy out to get the quarterback position. Something's not there. I mean, because you look at Sonja mentioned Tua. When Tua was in college as a freshman in the big game, he got put in the second half and they won that championship. He beat Jalen Hurts out, and from then on he was a starter. So go ahead. From then on,
no. To your point exactly. I'm sorry I cut into your point exactly. Bill Belichick said that before they drafted Tom Brady in the 6th round. Well, Michigan kept trying to, move on from him. They kept looking at other quarterbacks, which made them wonder, even though Brady looked good to the Patriots, why they wanted to draft him. They were apprehensive because his school wasn't locked in on him.
Yeah, they were locked in on Drew Henson because he was the guy. That's the reason why they weren't locked in on him. That's the stupidest thing Michigan ever did. It's like,
we see
this
these
guy's
quarterbacks.
crap.
Yeah,
Guy's crap. He played. I forgot who drafted. Didn't Dallas draft Drew Henson?
Yeah.
Oh God, that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, funny thing when you mentioned Drew Henson, the Yankees gave him like a $17 million bonus. They thought he'd be their third baseman of the future. That didn't work out either.
Let's look at how these guys actually look in college. I was just mentally going through the back, my memory bank of high performing quarterbacks, Heisman Trophy quarterbacks that everybody, gets super excited about, as we should, and they come into the NFL and they are literally not making the acclamation to the league whatsoever. I think about Jake Fromm. I think about Jason Stidham. I think about even like Bryce. They've had issues with trying to get him acclimated. Yes, 2 or 3 years, but Jake Fromm never got there. Stetson Bennett never got there. Jason Stidham has never gotten there. You see them and you hear of them every now and then. They're a third string quarterback if they're not all the way completely absolved into the league at this point.
Well, I know Jake Fromm is our quarterback. He's on the practice squad at this moment. Jake Fromm's one of those guys that, like J Train says, it's on and off. He had one of those good games, and everybody will be like, "Oh, wow, he's really good." And the next game, he just falls flat on his face. He's that kind of quarterback. But he's decent for the role that he plays right now. He's decent.
Wasn't he drafted in the 6th round, if I'm not mistaken?
Am I 6th round? No.
Jake Fromm, I'm thinking. I could be
it
wrong.
was sooner than that.
Yeah.
Was it? It was sooner than that. Yeah.
Let me fact check that.
Yeah, I'm not certain.
I think he's a late draft round pick too as well.
And if he was drafted really late, that tells he's just not that good. They're just taking a flyer on him.
5th round.
I think it lasts that long.
5th round. Wow, it seems like he was so much better.
What does that tell you? That's telling you he's not that much of a prospect. You're taking a chance the 5th round. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake.
No, Quinn Ewers, just back to your point, Jack, somebody's going to take a flyer on him. It's going to be mid, so it'll be 3rd to 4th round. And some coach who has a vision for him, because he has traits. He has really good traits. And there's things that, they're good enough to where whatever his flaws, they can mask them and maybe have him sit on the bench. And he can come in and take over as a starter. I could see him as a starter in the NFL. It's just you got it. Some of those things were just not good enough to take in a second, or a high pick, a 1st round or 2nd round. Some of those things that he did at Texas, just like, okay, I can't take him now. It's just too much of a risk. I'd rather get a value player at another position and take a chance there.
There's talk that the Indianapolis Colts like him, and their quarterback room now is Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. So if they like him, they could take a Quinn Ewers maybe in the 3rd round and put him in the mix.
And he has a good chance of beating out both players.
Wait, who's the Lion backup this year? It's not going to be Teddy Bridgewater.
No, it's Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker. So I don't get it. So Hendon Hooker wasn't good enough when they desperately needed him in the playoff loss. He wasn't good enough, but now he's good enough to be the primary backup. I don't get it.
Well, he was always a backup. Bridgewater basically came in there. He had coached a little league team to a state championship or a high school, I think it was. I'm not sure which it was, but they
I see.
the year before they brought him back so that he could be possibly a coach, a member of the coaching staff for the Lions. And now there's nothing been said about that. They haven't renewed his contract. Hendon Hooker's there. Like I said, they just got Allen from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they also have Jake Fromm. So I don't know exactly how their quarterback room is going to be looking. I mean, like I said, this is a long off
Miss.
season. It could,
Looks like
they
it's a
could
miss.
they could probably just draft another quarterback. You never know. Brad Holmes is weird. That's all I got to say about that.
Getting into debate, Sonia could tell you the other day when we had about a week ago on, like, I think the Monday show it could have been, and one of the listeners was going back and forth, really defending Jared Goff. Because I said basically he's, a good quarterback, game manager, but he's not, he's not in the class of a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Not, he's not as good. But the person went back and forth. Well, I'll put him behind Josh Allen, but ahead of Lamar Jackson. I mean, Jared Goff doesn't go out and win you football games. I mean, he's not going to take a team on his shoulders the way Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson will, but he can manage a game very well. And, you can win with him, but he's not the major difference maker. And I think we saw that with the Rams. He took the Rams to the Super Bowl, but you needed a Matthew Stafford, the Rams, to get you over the top. That's the point I was trying to make with Jared Goff.
I think the
And it
whole
could
situation with that in the first place is because Jared Goff was falling out of favor anyway with Sean McVay, so that created a performance devaluation by Jared Goff playing, and Jared Goff, rightly so, he has he's a quarterback that needs a lot around him to be successful. But to your argument about if I'd rather take, I mean, you got to remember something: Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Big games, they lose. They haven't been to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. So whether he won or lost doesn't make it. He's gotten to the big game. Those other quarterbacks haven't gotten to the big game. This is the reason why I said that I would take him over them because they haven't. I mean, putting them on a Lions team, yeah, they could be. The teams that they're on, they can't be successful. You got Jackson who gets MVP probably every season, and he still can't get past the Kansas City Chiefs or Buffalo for that matter. Buffalo's the same thing. Josh Allen, extraordinary quarterback, can't get past the Kansas City Chiefs. So I mean,
Yeah, but that's
I
like
guess you
playing
got
in the
to.
same conference as Michael Jordan. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs are just like world beaters. I mean, they got beat this year.
I'm not.
But
No, I'm
with
not.
that
I'm not
said,
using that argument, bro. I'm not
I
using
have
that
to I
argument.
have to disagree with you on taking. I mean, and I get it. You're a Lions fan. I'm going to give you the argument in that regard, but there's no way am I taking Jared Goff over neither one of those quarterbacks you just mentioned. There's no way. I mean, talent wise, they're just far more superiorly talented. I mean,
Talent
football
doesn't mean nothing.
football is
It's
a team.
about winning, isn't it?
Football is a team
It's a
game.
team sport,
It's
right?
a team sport, brother. There's no way I'm taking. I mean, I like Jared Goff, and I think he's great for your organization. I think he's great for that team, and I like the fact that he had a bounce back in his career. But talent wise, there's just no way. I'm not taking him over neither one of those. They're far superior, especially even in age. He's not even, and it caters to the style of play that goes into what the league has turned to. They're both those quarterbacks are primed for what the game is. And I'm not even sure what's going to even happen. The fact that you lost Ben Johnson as your offensive coordinator, how does that help Jared Goff in his way? Because I mean, again, great offensive minds. Every coach, every quarterback needs a successful one needs a great offensive mind with him. And so, Jared Goff had Sean McVay, and then he had Ben Johnson. I mean, I'm not going to say your head coach was his guy because it was Ben Johnson. That's just obvious. And so, there's a question mark there now. How does Jared Goff?
Not a question mark. What do you think? Jared Goff forgets everything he learned? Is that what you're trying to say? Because they got a
No,
different
I mean the
offensive
offense
coordinator?
itself. I mean the offense itself. Yes,
I mean,
it's
offense is
probably going
it's
to
not going
change
to.
some
You
of
got the same players. It's going to change, yeah, because Ben Johnson threw all those little trick plays and stuff in there. That's a different dynamic than he has over John Morton. However, John Morton will be more apt to running the ball, which the Lions should have done in a lot of cases last year instead of just passing the ball and leaving it up to Jared Goff all the time. And I just think that, like in the Tampa game, Jared Goff threw like 55 times. You can't have Jared Goff throw 55 times in the game. And that was Ben Johnson being, cute, trying to see, well, let me see if I can get the passing game together, because that's what he is. He's a passing game guy, right? So he tried to do that instead of mixing a lot of running there. And that's really inevitably why they lost that game, just because of the coaching. And on that particular instance. And it's just, I think they should run more. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, and of course, it was against a porous Washington defense, but he was putting up 7.5 yards every time he ran. It was almost an instant first down. So I just think that the change of the offense is just going to be more run oriented than it is going to be pass oriented. But they just got the same players. They know stuff. So it's not like, and they're all, they've been conducive of being on that team for a long period of time too. So you really don't have any new parts in that offense. Everything's still the same. It's just the offensive coordinator that's changed, really.
Brenton said New Lions
It's a good
offensive coordinator
quarterback.
helped design the current scheme. Thought that
Mm.
that should help the transition. So that's a good
Mm.
point too.
Jared Goff is a good quarterback, okay? No one's saying he's not. He's just not on the short list of elite quarterbacks. Your argument, well, what's he won? Oh, look, Joe Burrow's never won a Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't been there. Lamar Jackson hasn't been there. They've all been close to that.
Joe Burrow's been in the Super Bowl.
Okay, only one of them maybe at most is going to win the Super Bowl this year. So what are we going to say? Well, Joe Burrow hasn't won a Super Bowl with Josh Allen. Let's say Lamar Jackson does it this year. What are we going to say about the other two or vice versa? And maybe none of the three are going to win it this year. That's quite possible. I mean, what are we going to say? Let's say the Eagles repeat as Super Bowl champions. You're not going to tell me that Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Joe Burrow. He's not, and I love Jalen Hurts. But I could point out, well, Jalen Hurts is a two-time Super Bowl champion. I mean, listen, Eli Manning's a two-time Super Bowl, MVP. I mean, he's not as good as Dan Marino. Come on.
I'm just saying, though, everybody uses that as a measuring stick, which I don't believe in. I just use it against people because they always want to say stuff like that. Oh, he's a great quarterback because he's been in Super Bowls. And it don't mean nothing. It takes 22 people to get in a Super Bowl. So, I mean, no, I don't. Quarterbacks are evaluated how they process. Jared Goff went 15-2 on his team. Again, like I said, I don't think Jared Goff is an elite quarterback either. However, it's what your team around you produces. And you may be right about Lamar Jackson. But the point of the matter is, or even Josh Allen, they might be better quarterbacks. But if you put them on the Lions, that offense will get them there. I just don't think that I can't say that on their teams. It's a different thing. I just don't. If you're going to be a leader, if you're going to be that elite guy, you're going to win those big games. That's all I'm saying. And Jared Goff has shown he can do that. He's also shown he can lose a big game, but he also shown he
I'm
can
going to
win
tell
some
you,
big games.
let's say an NFL executive, they made a blockbuster deal that was off the charts, like the Mavs made with the Lakers, something to throw us off a loop. And you're sitting in the Lion office and your phone rings and they want to offer you Lamar Jackson for Jared Goff to make the deal. I think you have to make it if you're the Lions. It changes everything with the offense. It creates a new excitement in the city. There's a big buzz. I know as a Jet fan, if I could get Jared Goff as my quarterback, yeah, I would take him over Justin Fields. I think he's better than Justin Fields. But I'm not going to get overly excited. Wow, Jared Goff is my quarterback. But if you told me I had Lamar Jackson, wow, I mean, I'm like giddy. I'm like excited. This guy's electrifying.
And it's going
Well,
to
you
open
may
a
say
door
that.
for their run game too in Detroit if you were to take Lamar or Josh Allen because the threat of the quarterback run, and it opens the door for David Montgomery or for Jameer Gibbs. I mean, even
You
those
know, you
both
know, you
guys,
know, both those running backs had reached over 1,000 yards rushing last year, right?
yes, I
So
would
there's
say
no door to
even
be
more so.
open on a running game. There's no door to be open on a running game. See that, and that's the reason why Lamar Jackson would not be good. Now you might have some Lion fans here who got frustrated because Goff lost that game. Well, he was part of the reason why they lost the game in Washington. There's a lot of Goff haters here, just like there was a lot of Stafford haters here, and they'll love Lamar Jackson to be here. But Lamar Jackson's going to completely screw up the offense because he's a different kind of quarterback. He's not a pocket quarterback. He's a running quarterback. Our offense is not designed for that. So you had to completely change the offense, completely change the offensive coordinator. You have to go through a whole bunch of things, and I don't think the Lions, the real Lions fans would be excited about that because they've already went 15-2 and 12-5 and won division titles. So that's not a part of that whole situation either. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and on a fan process, that probably could be good for the fans. But as far as the organizational consideration, it's not going to be a good thing for the Lions. You
And
just
good
can't just
morning.
put something up, you know.
Good morning to Little Holmes. I've been trying to get this comment in here. He says hello to you, Jack. Good morning. Let's switch gears a little bit because this draft talk is serious. But let's talk about what the running back class looks like. A lot of people haven't really been talking about that, but this draft is actually more highly saturated with running backs than any other position. We've got a lot of teams that actually need running backs. We know that the running back shelf life is not very long anyway. So the depth is very, very good for this draft class. Talking about like a lot of players coming in that could actually be a fit for a lot of teams that are either looking to possibly rest their number one running backs or even, just try to get somebody that when the time comes, they have somebody to come in and take over their place. You got running backs even all the way up to day 2 and possibly day 3 of this draft. Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee, Caleb Johnson are some of the names, Trayvon Henderson, Quinshawn Judkins, just to name a few. Guys, what are your thoughts of just those gentlemen and even more? I could go on with the running back class.
I'm trying to figure out my Jets why all the hate's on Brees Hall, where Aaron Glenn's saying we want to do
Right.
running back by committee. You have a stud running back in Brees Hall. I know he didn't have the best year last year, but the Jets were dysfunctional. But he had a great rookie year. So I don't understand, the running back situation. I mean, unless you have a star running back, it seems most teams like doing things on committee.
Are the Jets keeping both those running backs, Jack?
I don't know what they're doing with Brees Hall. There was a rumor he was going to go to the Commanders because the Commanders are looking, I don't want to call him a veteran. It's going to be his third year, Brees Hall, in the league. But, I just don't know what's being thought of with the Jets. How they, Aaron Glenn better than I would, guys. With the Lions, so on. But I just don't know what the mindset is. When new coach comes in and you're trying to change the culture, sometimes certain players take a hit. And it seems
Yeah,
like
as of yesterday,
Paul
they did
is
talk about.
the whipping guy in this situation.
I don't.
Garrett Wilson is being elevated again, to number one receiver. He's going to be the standout. They're going to, build around him. But Brees Hall has been like pushed to the back. I mean, he shouldn't be, sharing running back duties. He should basically be the guy, but that's not how he's being looked at.
No,
Well,
as
he
of
was pushed
yesterday,
back
they are
last year
speaking
too.
about. Yeah, they are speaking about the Commanders as of yesterday, giving a 4th-round pick for him as well as for Luke McCaffrey. So
Well, look, Brees Hall has been injury prone, so maybe that's part of the issue. But I agree with you. He was a second round draft pick out of Iowa State. I mean, a beast running back. I like him, and I think
Hmm.
I don't think they're going to get rid of him. I think that's like you said, a lot of rumors. I think a lot the regime has changed, and so they want to be successful, and I'm pretty sure uh, they want to make sure he's healthy. And if he's is there a running back by committee? Braylon Allen, is that the kid's name? I believe. Yeah. So you got two run. I mean, most teams have two running backs. I mean, you want to make sure that the guy's healthy. So that'll take some carries away from him, but I could see giving him 15 to 20 touches a game, and I think Brees Hall will get about 15, 20 touches a game, and it'll be more successful as well because again, they're probably going to be RPOs because you got to. You wouldn't take a quarterback like Justin Fields if you were. If you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to help Brees Hall as well. But my top five in the running back, Sonja, what you mentioned, I think the draft has this draft. If you think that this draft is not as good overall, at least with the running back, it's loaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's loaded.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go from the first, second, third, all the way into the fourth, and you can get quality depth out of the running backs in this particular draft. But my top five, I got Ashton Genty out of Boise State. To be honest with you, I have him number one, but I'm on the fence because I think it's a 1A, 1B. I actually like Omari and Hampton out of UNC a little bit better than Ashton Genty, although the numbers show that Ashton Genty was the more productive back. But I think in a weaker conference playing for Boise State, Omari and Hampton does show that he has he has moves. It looks like he can play in a wide zone offense if needed. He's powerful. He's aggressive and angry when he runs, and he's fast. And he did run a 40. So he clocked in the 4.46. And he's 6 foot 220. He's a big dude, and he's a great blocker. So look, I like him. Ashton Genty is great. To me, his comp is Emmitt Smith. He's going to need probably a good offensive line. I like his jump cut. I like his speed, straight line football speed, but we don't know what he actually has. I think Omari Hampton will be 1A, 1B. And then my number 3 would be Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. He's another guy that has, to me, his strength is vision. When I watch his play, on the zone run, man, he has jump cut and he anticipates the block. And I'll be honest with you, who he reminds me of, my comp, even though it's coincidental they have the same colors as the Steelers, is Le'Veon Bell. His vision and his patience is incredible. And so I like that. I could see him a great value at a second round pick or a late first round. My third would be not Giddens, but Quinshawn Judkins, the guy out of Ohio State you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Very underrated, tough, and sneaky fast running back. And then I have Giddens out of Kansas State as number 5 to round it out. And I like Travion Henderson, but he's a one-trick pony. He's a fast guy. He'll be a great complement to somebody, but he won't be the main guy. And he's a smaller running back. So he's kind of that scat back and straight line speed because he ran like a 4.41 or something like that in the combine. So, again, that's my top 5, but there's a lot of other running backs there. I'll let you guys have that.
Brent brought up Auburn running back Jarquez Hunter as well. That's definitely a solid list you put together, J Train. Striller, what are your thoughts on this class?
Well, I gotta say, look for Trevor Etienne from Georgia. His brother plays in the NFL in Jacksonville, but I believe he's a better Etienne. He's a better. I think he's a better running back than his brother. And the thing about his brother in Jacksonville, he's injury prone. Trevor hasn't been in that situation too much, in fact, at all. But he's a pretty good running back. I look for him to be climb a little bit up there during draft day too. He's 5'9". He's a small back, but you want to have small backs that can hide behind an offensive line, right? So you can't see him. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them are truly playmakers? Genty's a playmaker. Hampton maybe is a playmaker. But the rest of them, are they really playmakers, or are they just very solid and consistent?
The one I picked at number 3, I think, is a playmaker as well, Caleb Johnson. He's underrated, but he needs to be in the right offense. Mm-hmm. He needs to be in that wide zone scheme, like what Terrell Davis ran, and and what Christian McCaffrey is in. I like him. He's kind of a bit of an upright runner, sort of like Le'Veon Bell. But, man, whoever gets him, I could see him sneaking into the first round. And if a team has a really good plan for him and they got a good offensive line, I think he's a playmaker as well.
As the Saints moving on from Alvin Kamara doing a transition and maybe making a bold move and picking Hampton at number 9. You know, I guess he'll be there at number 9. That would be a bold move if somehow the
Jack,
Shador Sanders thing didn't work out. I mean,
Look, let me tell you, that's funny you say that. I thought Hampton would be a great player for the Saints because of how Kellen Moore had his offense with what's the guy? I can't even think his name. Uh,
Eagles.
yeah,
don't be greedy, J Train. You have
Saquon.
Shador Sanders. He's your quarterback
Yeah.
at number 9. Be happy and forget about it.
but again, that did cross my mind. I was like, what if they go with Hampton here? And wow, I still can't think of this guy's name. What with the Eagles? What's his name? I'm having
Saquon.
a fart.
Oh.
Saquon Barkley. Yes. I just
Yeah,
think
with
the
the
way
Lions,
they run.
with the Lions, we got to give fair play on this show. What's with Hutchinson? Is he going to come? Is he going to be healthy this year? Or what? I mean, how recovered is he? Is he going to be at training camp 100% over his injury? What's the deal? Because he's so key to the
he's fine.
Lions' chances.
He's fine as far as I can see. He's already been at the practice facility running up and down the field and making cuts. So it doesn't seem like anything's hindering him. So I'm expecting him to be back at 100% for training camp. I think the Lions are waiting to pay him according to what they see in the beginning of the season. I think if they see enough by the time we have our bye week, he's going to get paid.
Yeah, that's why this draft, it drives me crazy, all the drafts. I don't know college players as well as all these scouts and people making the selections, but I know the way NFL teams think and moves they make. That's why I can only hit upon it. And I couldn't see the logic then. Why didn't Jacksonville take Hutchinson when they were going number 1 and leaving them number 2 for the Lions? I know they took Walker. Well, he has all this upside. His vertical jump is so great. They tend to overthink things. Hutchinson was like a short thing. He couldn't miss. Yet they're looking for someone with a tiny bit more potential, with a little bit more athleticism. I don't get it with some of these teams sometimes. It just doesn't make sense.
I agree.
It was funny in that draft. If you look at it, the Jacksonville Jaguars had the first and we had the second. And it was like you could see everybody in the Lions war room, just clenching their fists like at the first pick. And then when Jacksonville did that, as soon as they picked Walker, they were on the phone. Oh, let's get Hutchinson. And that just took 2 seconds for them to call that. And they said, well, they're dumb. Let's go ahead.
I think teams fall in love with the traits of a player once you see him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't give me. It's called a RAS, relative average score, where these guys shoot up the drafts because their score is so high. They ran a high 40. I mean, this one particular player, for instance, right now is the draft darling right now, is Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
This kid jumps to 40. He's about 6'4", 6'5", 250, 60 pounds, and he jumps a broad jump of 10 or 11 or something like that, and he ran a 4.40 and 4.6 or 4.5, and he looks the part. But his production at school was 1.5 sacks every year. That's nothing. That makes a big deal. And I saw some mock drafts. I had to tell somebody. They had the Saints mocking him at number 9. I said, this is a terrible mock draft. Are you serious? He has no production. If I'm Mickey Loomis, I picked the number 14 overall in Marcus Davenport. He flopped. I picked the number 31 overall in Turner. Defense. These are all the trait guys. They did well at the combine, and they had good looks in college, but they were low average players in college. And they didn't do well, and they picked them high, and they flopped. They're no longer with the team. You think Mickey Loomis is going to do that again at 9? No.
The thing about some of these teams, they do that, what you say, but a lot of teams that are good at drafting, they look at the intangibles of the player, like Shamar Stewart. Got the worst tackle rate of the running back, of the defensive ends, 27%. Come on, man. That tells you right there. That's the reason why he averages 1.5 sacks in the season. He can't tackle nobody. So he runs fast. He can run fast, but if you just do a shimmy on him and get by him, he's not completing it, or There's one play I saw that he had a quarterback in his grasp, and the quarterback just shook, and this quarterback wasn't a major quarterback. He was just a regular quarterback starting, and he shook him off of him. So it's you got to complete tackles, and see, this is the reason why I don't want the Lions to get him, because we got enough problem with finishing last year in making sacks. We got to the quarterback, but when he got to the quarterback, they couldn't tackle him. We don't need no more guys like that.
Look, on the flip side, you do have players that are superstars that didn't have production in college, like Daniil Hunter. Daniil Hunter, when he was with Minnesota, he wreaked havoc. But he was drafted in the third round because he didn't show production. And so players with those traits, yes, fine, you have traits, but what was your production in college? I'm going to take a flyer on the Shamir Stewart in the late second or early third round because of his traits. I'm not going to take him ninth overall. That just doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and let's see. Brent saying he's not sold on Stewart. Dude can't tackle in college. How is he going to tackle in the NFL? Absolutely, I agree with that 100%. You guys, we hear about running backs that get in there like Saquon Barkley, and that they are literally just explosive. It just depends on what team they're with. I mean, we've seen the same thing with Christian McCaffrey. He was explosive with the Panthers until he started getting a lot of injuries. Then he had a reset with the 49ers. Stayed injury free that first season and really was explosive. Like got the all the way to the Super Bowl. However, of course, been suffering some injury this season in both legs. He is expected to make a full return. However, the 49ers are now saying they're going to make sure that they also draft another running back in this upcoming class just to make sure some pressures can be alleviated off of him. What are your thoughts on that? Did you guys hear me?
It was in and
Yeah.
out a little bit. I'll be honest with you. It was breaking up.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm literally sitting right here. Okay. Yeah. So I was saying, of course, we see that running backs soar at other organizations, different franchises, depending on where they came. We see Saquon Barkley was explosive with the Giants, but more explosive once he got to the Eagles, all the way to the Super Bowl and a championship. Christian McCaffrey, same thing with Carolina. Played so many explosive plays, but then suffered with injuries with that organization. Got a reset when he went to the 49ers and actually stayed injury free the first season, but then started being played with those same injuries from before because, like we said, the running back shelf life is so low. However, the 49ers are expecting him to make a full healthy return this season, but they are said to be drafting a running back in this class. What are your thoughts about that? Are we seeing possibly the fade out of Christian McCaffrey, or are they just getting him some help just to alleviate some of the pressure during the games?
I don't know if Christian McCaffrey. I mean, what's the plan? I mean, the Niners, if they're going to move on from him and then it's no indication they're going to do it next season, they're not going to get that much in return at this stage. I mean, what did they get? Uh, they got a couple of good draft choices they gave up to get him. I mean, what did the Panthers get, Sonja? As I recall, maybe a second, third, and fourth, or something like that.
Uh,
He doesn't. It's the same thing with Debo Samuel. What did they get? A fifth round draft choice? I mean, that's insane. I guess there were cap implications, so they just wanted to get rid of Debo Samuel in the Commanders in a win now mode, so they were willing to pay that money, in the short term. But the window to me is basically closing on the Niners. I mean, at best, I could see them maybe being a wild card to get eliminated early in the playoffs. I don't see them as a serious Super Bowl contender the way they've been the last few years. I know I mentioned a team like the Lions for their window is the window closing. No, not next year. It's not. I can't say beyond next year what the situation's going to be. But you never know. I thought the Buffalo Bills a year ago, I thought their window was closing, and now I don't think it's quite closing the same way. You never know. But with the Niners, they were a mess last year. So, what value does Christian McCaffrey have to them that he wouldn't have to another team? He'd be more valuable on another team, I think, at this point. But it's a question of which team that he could maybe get over the top.
I mean, they basically got rid of him in 2022. It kind of was a little sentimental, especially with Christian's dad being from out there, playing for the same team. Sometimes kids just literally want to go home. They want to have that connection. So for all intents and purposes, Ed liked it. You know, his dad at the time. However, he was only 26 when they made this trade. He was actually surprised that he was traded, and because the Panthers had Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard and Raheem Blackshear at the time, they had not taken the field, and they brought Spencer Brown back. They felt like they could move on from him, and you know that was during the time they was really trying to get some collateral to try to establish what was going on with Bryce. I still, to be honest with you, do not understand all the terms of that trade. I'm literally looking at it right now. It had something to do with looped in with the DJ Moore trade to the Bears and that number one pick. All of that kind of like played hand in hand. I to this day, and I've actually been on record of saying that I have no idea why, but I'm looking at it now. The Bears got a whole bunch of stuff. The Panthers got the number one pick, and then we also, because of the outcome of the pick with the Bears, it involved us having to give up McCaffrey as well. Something they had going on with the 49ers.
Look, McCaffrey is still an elite player when healthy. And if he's going to be healthy this season, I think he's going to contribute to the 49ers and give them his all. He's a tough player. He just has bad luck with injuries, it seems like. And I like him, but I know the 49ers are going to draft him just for depth purposes because they got rid of Jordan Mason, who replaced McCaffrey this season and had about 800 to 900 yards. It did well. So he got him a contract somewhere and went somewhere else. But they're going to, I mean, like I said, going back to what we were talking about with the crop of running backs that are in this draft, the 49ers are going to pick somebody, obviously, in the second or third round to get a running back in the event, somebody of quality, of depth, to help replace McCaffrey in the future and in the immediate if he gets hurt.
Yeah, the writing's on the wall for that because they traded Mason to the Vikings. I'm sorry, CNC, his career is just about on the edge right now. He takes another injury, he's out.
Mm-hmm.
Period. The doctors told him he shouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
With what he has right now, he's got a degenerative disease. He can't be playing. I'm telling you, he was
true. I heard that.
Yeah,
I didn't know if that's true.
He's got a degenerative disease.
I looked that up and I couldn't find any solidification about that but they're saying he has something, but they're not like really very specific. And just real quick, let me plug in. Jack, the Panthers were seeking a first round pick from the 49ers because they gave up their first round to the Bears, of course. They had gotten one to get Bryce Young. But San Francisco that year gave them a second, third, and fourth pick in the 2023 draft, and they got a fifth for this year, the 2024 draft. That was all for Christian McCaffrey. So they got a big haul from him.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought when I said second, third, and fourth. I mean, I know the Panthers gave the Jets for Sam Darnold the second, fourth, and sixth, to get Darnold, and that didn't work out. But with McCaffrey, it's been worth it for the Niners. I mean, giving up those picks for what he's meant to them. But if you guys are correct and he has a degenerative condition and the doctor's advising against him playing, shouldn't the NFL step in? I mean, should they be allowed to step in and prevent a guy from playing if they deem that he has a certain medical condition? I mean, that puts him at his severe risk. I mean, that's a question, too. I mean, that we should maybe explore.
Sonja, to answer that last commenter's question, what offense do they have outside of CMAC? Brandon Ayuk is coming back. George Kittle's still serviceable as an elite tight end. And then you have Jennings as another wide receiver there as well, unless he got traded away. I doubt it, or he left.
No, he's still there.
He's still there. So, and I'm pretty sure in the draft, they're going to get somebody else too, a wide receiver to help them out. But yeah, I'm not going to count San Francisco out totally. But yes, they did gut the team offensively. But I mean, I think it was addition by subtraction with Deebo Samuel's always injured, high contract. I don't know how great he's going to be in Washington. We'll see. He had his lowest numbers this past season, but I mean, we can attribute that some to him, his decrease in play, and also the offense itself just losing players. Yeah, I think they'll be okay.
Guys, is there more to that than Debo Samuel? If you recall, at the end of the season, he went off and he was really lacing into another player. And sometimes that turns the coaching staff off. They get upset. And even though Debo Samuel said afterwards, no, I just wanted to win. It wasn't as bad as it looked. We tried to say the right things after. Maybe stuff like that's been happening at practice, behind the scenes, little stuff why they decide we just got to move on from this guy, get whatever we can get, but move on from him as quick as possible.
And happy
So
Sunday,
so
Dennis.
so Sonia, to the disease, recurs after. It's called posterior cruciate ligament injury, and it
Okay.
happens when you have your MCL torn so many times, like he has, and remember he went out with an ACL last year,
Yep. I was just reading up
and
on that.
yeah, so but they're saying the reason why he shouldn't be back in the game is because he's torn his MCL so many times it's not regenerating,
Yep.
and and that's going to be bad for him. I mean, yeah, he's got a 2-year contract with San Francisco. Let him play, but I can't guarantee you're going to have him the whole season.
He also has a tendonitis that he's had, and his dad spoke on that. That's what I was just reading, and it was basically
Hmm.
saying that over time it's like a tennis ball. You let it heal up the first time, and then at some point it's not going to be able to heal as much. So nonetheless, those both are degenerative diseases because they're progressive. There's no comeback once you can't regenerate that tissue there.
Yeah.
And
So if he plays, I mean, he might be able to play for your first 4 or 5 games, but if somebody goes, you know how the NFL is. If somebody, gets tackled into him or hits his knee, he's going to be out. And that's going to be it for
yeah,
him.
and it's both legs now. It's not just one.
Hmm.
He's had, and anytime you're talking about both legs, you're like, oh my gosh, he just got married. He and his wife are expecting now, and he's such a young guy. You have a situation where this guy's now basically his walk is impeded for life because he tried
Hmm.
to give so much to the NFL.
Hmm.
So they probably do go ahead and, at least bring somebody in. But let's be clear, the 49ers knew when they took McCaffrey that he was already injured. He started to be injured because he was carrying the brunt of the offense of the Panthers. Anytime, and that's why running backs have such a low shelf life, because they carry the blunt of the offense of the team. Of course, you got the wide receivers and tight ends, but the running backs are the ones that make these plays. It's been referenced how McCaffrey's legs are always churning, even after he's still trying to, go
Hmm.
break those tackles. And so that's why, because you're using all of your force against 5 other people minimum that are matching your force plus times 5.
Hmm. Good offensive lines count too. That's why Saquon had such a, Saquon, but let's Philadelphia has a good offensive line. And that's the reason why Saquon was able to be successful as he was on that team. Just like Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best running backs in the league, too, because he's got a great offensive line. CMC, same thing. When he first year in San Francisco, he was extraordinary. Great offensive line.
He was
Running
great for
backs
the
will use
Panthers when he
offense.
first came.
Yeah, he was, but then you see all the injuries he has because you guys really didn't have a good offensive line, so he's trying to do too much.
When he first came, I think Cam was still there, and they were still
Yeah.
doing fairly decent. It was
Hmm.
after that whole, Matt Rule and all these different coaches that kept coming in. Once that started happening, the offensive line began to change because the coaching began to change, and then the
Hmm.
players began to change, and then you can't have one player that's consistent when you're constantly moving around all these other players. That's my thing.
Well,
Hey,
and
look,
that's what I'm
look,
saying.
look.
As as
Let's put it
as
this
as
way.
the offensive line deteriorated, so did CMC basically
Yeah,
because he
pretty
had to
much.
take on too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, CMC is not I put him in the same breath because he's set not a record, but he's one of 3 running backs to do this, to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. That includes
Hmm.
Roderick Craig and Marshall Faulk. So he's that style of running back. He's that type of running back. He's not meant to take a beating behind the offensive line, especially if inept. That's more like a Adrian Peterson type of running back or somebody like
Mm-hmm.
Earl Campbell. He's not that guy. You can look at his frame, you can tell he's not that guy. But it needs to be an ideal situation, and unfortunately, like if it's not ideal, like Strilla mentioned with the offensive line, it's going to show, particularly make that him a little more injury prone.
Yep, I agree. What do you think, Jack?
I want to make a comment on you said about Saquon Barkley with the Eagle offensive line, even though it's not wrong what you said per se. I don't think we give enough credit to a few of these elite running backs. You can't find another running back who's going to do what Saquon Barkley did. You're just not. I don't care how good the offensive line is. He makes the offensive line look a lot better with some of his moves too. I mean, there are few running backs that are so outstanding. I mean, you have to differentiate between them and the rest of the league, like a Derrick Henry. He's one of a kind. A Saquon Barkley's one of a kind. Barry Sanders was a one of a kind. I don't know how good the Lion offensive line was when Barry Sanders, played during his
There's
time.
one now.
I don't remember. I mean, how good were they? But Barry Sanders was so great with he'd make an average offensive line look really good, I'm sure.
Well, that was a different era too. That's when defenses were allowed to play defense. That's the other thing people don't give credit for in Barry Sanders too, because he played against defenses that were trying to kill him. And they say you can't do that no more. Derrick Henry and Saquon are good in their equal right. Derrick Henry just run you over. He don't care. Saquon will do the same thing, but he's also got that burst of speed. I'm not discrediting either one of those running backs because of their lines. That's not what I'm saying. They're good because of a reason. They're good. You can't just put some Simpson person back there and think they're going to run wild because they got a good offensive line. It takes athletic ability to do that. But I'm saying offensive lines do matter and they help in a running game. So.
But a Saquon Barkley puts fear into a lot of the defensive linemen because they know when he comes at them, all his spin moves, they have no idea what he's going to be doing because he's so unpredictable and he does it with such force and such speed. These guys are like, you talk about difference makers and quarterbacks. There are very few running backs with difference makers, but Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Marshall Lynch. These guys, it's just Emmitt Smith. These guys are just difference makers. There are not that many in the league amongst the running backs, but the few who are, we can't attribute their success. Oh, well, they had a good offensive line. Maybe the offensive line looked good because of them in part. I don't know.
Yes. I mean, look, let's go back to 2012 when Adrian Peterson recovered from his ACL. He won Offensive Player of the Year, and he won, of course, the MVP that year honors. Look, that offensive line was good, but Adrian Peterson was the one knocking guys over, getting into the secondary, pushing people down, making sure imposing his will on a defense. And they rode his back because Christian Ponder was not the dude. They didn't have a passing game. So defenses knew what Adrian Peterson was going to do, or knew what the offense was going to be, and yet he still took that team to the playoffs. So yes, like Jack said, there's guys that are difference makers. I mean, like Barry Sanders, man, that '97 season when he got the 2,000 yards, they went to the playoffs because of Barry Sanders.
They went to the playoffs every year when he was there because he was Barry Sanders. But at the same time, those are unique individuals. You're talking about that maybe you're talking about maybe one or two of the top three of the running backs of all time right there. You know what I'm saying? Jim Brown. Did we ever recognize if he had an offensive line? I mean, he was running over everybody. He was a man amongst boys. I mean, you have those players that are just stand out in the NFL, and that's what makes them GOATs. Jerry Rice is always perceived as a GOAT too, as a wide receiver, because the dude knew how to run routes, and he was open more times than anybody was locking him down. You couldn't do nothing about that. It's like the Michael Jordan rules with everybody. You're not going to stop him, so let him do what he's got to do, and then stop everybody else around him. That's how you do it with these players.
Definitely how you got to do these players, and a lot still, undecided with the draft. We could talk about the running back situation all day because, like we said, this is such a saturated class of running back. But As I always say, the verdict is still out. Let's switch gears as we wrap up our last 20 minutes here of the show. Thank you so much for everyone that's come in and likes, loves, and shares. Let's talk a little MLB news. The Dodgers have slipped in their standings, Jack. They are now ranked number 3. The Padres have literally taken off flight and they are sitting at 12-3, while the Dodgers have dropped all the way now. They're starting on this lose streak, 11-5.
It doesn't mean a thing. I mean, we're less than 1/10 into the season, and the Dodgers are right there. I mean, what's there to be concerned about at this point? As long as your players are healthy and everything is in place, it's not a big deal at this point. I mean, the Giants are playing over their heads, the Padres are playing over their heads. The Dodgers are right there. They're the best team in baseball. I know anything can happen in the playoffs, but I wouldn't even be concerned as far as the Dodgers getting into the playoffs. They'll definitely be there and they'll probably win the World Series. But again, once a team's in the playoffs, especially in baseball, anything could happen. Anything could happen, you could say, in any sport. But look, the NBA playoffs are going to begin soon. I'm not going to be so worried if I'm the Boston Celtics because it's not the NCAA tournament. It's not one and done. I mean, look what happened to Duke. I mean, it's one and done and the season's over. It's not that way in the NBA.
I'm not ready to talk
But
about Duke
maybe,
yet, Jack. Thank you.
oh, okay,
Leave that
yeah,
alone.
but
I was waiting on the
You
dark.
cannot go the
there
whole
you
show
go.
without a shot. Wow.
There's got to be. We love, you
We
know,
have
we're
20 minutes
spoiled,
to
all
go,
of us.
sir.
We love the NCAA tournament, but it really is unfair as far as crowning a champion. It really makes the regular season partially meaningless. Because it's all about the NCAA tournament. Who cares who won the
Well,
Big
now we're
East to the
talking about the
ACC at the end?
MLB. You keep going back
I
to that.
know,
We're talking about
but anything can
Jack,
happen in
Jack,
MLB.
Jack. You have been
I
doing great the whole show, sir.
no, no.
We are
What I'm
talking about
saying,
rankings. Shohei Otani has been clearing bullpens and everything. And so we have had an hour and 40 minutes now for you to load up your arsenal and
okay.
talk about all of that. So now
Can I just close on the
He
comment?
just came out of nowhere with that one too. He just
he
like
sure
had to throw some
did.
shade.
Let him
Wow.
finish.
You
Let him
could
finish.
take a
Throw some
minor league
shade.
baseball team and put them against the Dodgers for one game. And the minor league baseball team, if they played the Dodgers 20 games, and you had to say whether they'll win one, I'm putting my money on the minor league team to grab one game. You put a college team together, just misfits or whatever, Division Two, Division One, and they're not going to beat the Eagles. They're going to get run over. Or same in college basketball players against, the lead NBA team. But something about baseball, anyone can beat anyone, for a given game. That's why you have the best 3 out of 5, best 4 out of 7. Even then they could lose. But I don't think I'm making my point, so I better
And
shut
nobody's
up.
going to win
I'm
162 games.
going to ask.
Right.
I agree with that, but they're supposed to be chasing 117.
Yeah.
This particular team, and the way they lost last night to the Cubs, is that
Right.
not a concern for you?
No, the Seattle Mariners won 116
Thank you,
games.
J Train.
They hold the record, and they lost to the Yankees in 5 games in the playoffs, best 4 out of 7. I mean, what does it matter at the end? It's baseball. It's
It
all the
matters if it
Dodgers are right
continues
there. I'm
on
not
that
concerned.
trajectory.
I mean, at all. If I'm the Dodgers, I mean, Blake Snell just went on the injured, reserve list. I mean, injuries concern me all the time. If players have to go out, you look at their prognosis. Yeah, but the Dodgers are going to lose games during the year. I mean, they don't play meaningful baseball until October. You think they're psyched for the game, whatever? Mark Schlereth, the former NFL player, his son was a big league pitcher for the Tigers. I don't remember for how long, but he was hanging out with his son and then his roommate. He said, "You guys got to get up early in the morning. You got to do this, do that." And I explained to him, this isn't football. We have 162 games. You're not getting psyched for the big game the way you did. Relax. Take it easy. It's a long grind, baseball. A long, long grind. Like even in the NBA. who's favored to win the title this year, guys? Probably the Celtics. I mean, they're the consensus choice. I get the feeling the Celtics have been coasting the year. Have we been concerned that the Cleveland Cavaliers have finished ahead of them? No, you think they've been concerned in the slightest?
No, not really. I'll be honest with you.
What's your defense too, Jack? I always say it's not how you start; it's how you finish.
Right.
And the hottest team that goes into it, just like with hockey, just like with the Major League Baseball, the ones that play the longest, NBA, whoever goes into the series hot is going to be the one that eventually wins that series, unless something changes. But at the same time, you're talking about what they expect, what incumbents expect the Dodgers to do this year as far as win total. But that's what other people expect. I think the Dodgers just expect to be there when playoff time comes, and then they're going to handle their business. They are one of the hottest rosters in the league right now. There's no denying that.
And
based on the
And
fact that you're going to get injuries all through the season.
right.
And you
But
know
the
this
Lions
better
are-
than
I mean,
anyone. With
The Tigers are
Lions-
9-5. Do you think I'm whooping it up about that? They're first place in their division. I'm not whooping it up about that. They got to finish first place in their division. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You made a great point. All people care about is how you finish. Look, I'm not a Lion fan. You're obviously a massive Lion fan. I feel
Massive.
for the Detroit. I feel for
Thank
the
you.
Detroit
Shots,
Lions.
bro.
Believe it
Throwing
or
shots
not,
out there, ain't he?
Right.
who was the best team in the NFL last year? It was the Detroit Lions, but all people remember the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Lions had injuries at the end. Whatever the reason is, no one is going to look back on the Lions season and remember it. In all reality, they're going to remember
There is
what
a
the
reason
Eagles
why
did.
your name
There's
is
going to
Jack.
be a 10-year reunion of the Eagles Super Bowl winning team. That's not going to be anything going on with the Lions. In a way, the Lion fans want to forget last year, and that's sad because they had a heck of a year, but partly because of injuries, at least, maybe mainly, I don't know, that's all debatable. No one is going to remember that the Lions were the best team in the NFL. It's all
I'm
about
gonna remember
finishing.
it. A lot of people will
You're not
remember.
going to remember, too. All
Yes,
you're going to
I'm-
remember, Sonya, the Eagles,
Listen
holding the
here.
Lamar
Well, saying the
There's
fans
a
aren't going to
lot of
remember it is a whole lot right there because fans
Exactly.
are going to remember that.
Right.
But at the same time, it's the league fans that aren't going to
Yeah.
remember that because
Right.
Super Bowl is obviously your place that you want to finish at and win. So yeah, you're not.
No,
You're, and I
to some
don't
degree.
say about the people thinking that nobody's going to remember Kansas City either. Everybody remembers the losing team. We don't go after Buffalo all the time and talking about, oh, you're 0-4 in a Super Bowl. Well,
Right.
obviously that means you remember that you were 0-4 in a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
I think I agree. But what Jack is saying, I have to agree with him. The percentages, like where the Eagles finished, they didn't get to the Super Bowl. They finished in the division round. Most people don't remember division rounds. Most people don't
I know
remember.
that.
Yeah, so most people will remember
I'm
a
saying
Super Bowl winner.
nationally, people don't. The fans of those teams are going to remember that, though. To say the fans aren't going to remember that,
Guys,
and you got to understand, this is the Lions, so they're going to remember anything successful that's going to go on with that team. So there you go.
in 2004, the Yankees had a historic collapse in the playoffs. They blew a 3-0 lead against the Red Sox. People don't remember the Yankees beat the Red Sox out for the division title during the regular season. But no one remembers. No one cares about that, seeing the Yankees holding a banner for that. The unfortunate part, this is what bothers me about sports in general. A team could have a really good year, and they're only remembered for championships. I mean, I remember a couple of Jets seasons when they were 2-8. They won their last 6 to come out 8-8. Another year they were 1-7, won their last 6 when there was a 14-game schedule, be 7-7. You should be proud of seasons like that. Look at the Pistons this year; they're having a heck of a year, but chances are they're going to get eliminated, probably against the Knicks, maybe not, but probably. And what are people going to remember? They'll have a good feeling in the off season, but it's not going to be remembered 2-3 years from now.
It's going to be remembered because it was an NBA record. They're the first team that ever came back from 14 wins and won triple their win percentage. That's just history.
If
So
it's a
Yeah,
that's going to be
I think
remembered.
it's more so sports nuts that remember that. Casuals, and which are the majority, casuals don't remember that kind of stuff. They remember
right.
who are the winners. Uh,
Add to the casuals.
Nelly has a song, number one. He said, "What does it take to be number one? Two is not a winner, and three nobody remembers." It might have been a casual song, but that's exactly right. Nobody remembers third place. I mean, you can go to track. You remember who wins the gold, but most people don't remember the silver. They don't remember the bronze. It's just what it is. You know, it's just.
But
I mean,
they remember epic fails in championships because they definitely
correct.
remember the Falcons 28-3. They say that all the
Absolutely,
time. And they remember the
absolutely.
Panthers who had a undefeated season except for one game and was chasing the Miami Dolphins record from the 73 team, 71 Dolphins, excuse me. And we lost the Super Bowl. So we never, even as a non-fan, even as a sports enthusiast of all sports, the casual fan would still know that because, like B said, if it's a record or if it's something about that loss or that win that just kind of sticks out, you know, everybody. There were so many people that had the Lions going to the Super Bowl at a minimum, going to the Super Bowl, and so a lot of people are gonna remember that the Commanders, some kind of way, got it done.
And
No,
on top of that,
I gotta take a cheap shot now. Before it's over.
Oh God, I hope it ain't
Listen,
a
the
me.
like you
Saints.
haven't been.
Does anyone remember? We remember
Jack
the Saints getting
blank.
screwed out of the Super Bowl on a bad play. But
Mhm.
who was the beneficiary? Jared
Yeah,
Goff, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't he the
yeah, golf.
quarterback of the Rams?
His name's
Well,
Golf.
he got to the Super Bowl through a scandalous call, where you could basically say.
That's
It's,
true.
it's true. I mean, but people don't think, but all they remember, Jared Goff has been to a Super
His
Bowl.
name's
They don't remember the
Jared Golf.
circumstance, Goff, that got him there.
You know, that's wow. That's a great point, Jack. I have
But
to
they
agree with
remember
that.
that play. They remember that play in the
Because
playoffs,
they said a
right?
petition, or because
Right.
the Saints sent. I'm sorry, J Train.
It
They
doesn't matter. I don't
circulated.
have a problem with that. But
Yeah, they were
ultimately,
circulating a petition, which made it gain more traction. That's why people
yes, but
remember that.
ultimately, I think everybody will look at that particular play as
That's
being,
true.
yes, that particular play as happening. It happened. That's
Yeah,
where the
that's
petition
true.
came from. I wouldn't
Yeah,
have petitioned. That's crazy. But the play overall is one of the worst non-calls ever. That's one of the
Or how,
worst.
or how about MVP Eli Manning beating Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl and once when they were undefeated? I mean, those are
yeah.
things that you remember. You're going to still remember New England because New England was undefeated, right?
But
They
again, we're
lost it.
talking. I, I agree with you to an extent. It's the Super Bowl because New England was 17-0.
Mm-hmm.
They everybody the whole season everybody talking about them, so you can't forget them. It's not like a Cinderella team loses in the Super Bowl that anybody would remember them. New England was an upset. Like Jack could go tell you about upset fights. You know, you're gonna remember who the guy was that was supposed to win, but you're not gonna remember like
But J Train, like in evaluating that New England team that lost to the Giants, a lot of people are still putting him as one of the top 10 teams of all time. When you rate the greatest NFL teams, they might put him sixth, seventh, eighth still, Mike. But had New England won that game, had they made a defensive stop at the end, virtually everyone would be rating that Patriot team as the greatest of all time, going
Well,
19-0.
rightly so because they were undefeated and they beat the Miami's record.
Yeah, but
Miami
Miami
did.
was soft the year they went 17
Oh
and 0.
wow.
They won. No, they were. They were. I lived through that season. They
Yeah,
weren't a
we weren't. None of
powerhouse
us were
team
born, so
at
yeah.
all. They won a lot of close games. You look, they won 3 playoff games. I include the Super Bowl by a total of 17 points. They were losing with 8 minutes to go against an ordinary Cleveland Brown team in the playoffs. They were down 14-13. And they had to rally to win 20 to
That's
14.
called
They won the
adversity, Jack.
Handicap
That's what
no, but
teams
they
99.
do
won.
when they win.
No, I like a team that stomps on people, a powerhouse team like the Chicago Bears.
You and the Bears didn't
Well, you
stomp on
gonna get it
everybody because
this year when the
Miami beat
Panthers
them.
play y'all. We gonna
That was
show you
one
that stomp.
game, but that was
Yeah.
one game. I mean, they
yeah.
weren't
But
getting
Jack,
their.
wasn't Miami like in run for 3 Super Bowls straight or something like
Thank
that?
you.
But
Oh my
Miami
bad.
Dolphin, when they Dolphins, after the unbeaten season, they repeated as Super Bowl champions. That was one of the great teams of all time. They were a powerhouse. They built on that.
Gotcha.
Who's that?
I'm tracking. You know more than I would.
They dominated. They lost a couple of games
He was here
early on, but they were a
solid.
dominant team, and they dominated in the Super Bowl. I mean, you live through it. Look, the Chiefs team this year, guys, they barely were winning games, but it looked good because they kept getting W's, and we kept saying, "Oh, what a great team! What a great!"
And they were not, and I
but
said
they
that.
could easily have been a 10-17. You know, all the coin flips were going their way. I mean,
they definitely cheated against the Panthers. I'm not biased on that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. Everybody saw that game, that call where Adam Thielen had that catch. That catch was the winning catch for real, and everybody knew that. And they came back afterwards and said, the announcers and everybody was like, "Whoa, we're not sure about that call." And afterwards, the refs were like, "We made a mistake." Well, guess what? The game is over then.
And good point, Sonja. Remember their opening game, the Chiefs? The foot was on the line with the Raven receiver. So the Ravens should have won. Another one, Denver botched the snap on the winning field goal. I mean, and there were other instances like that too, but they kept getting the W's, and we figured, oh, they're the defending champs. They find a way to get it done.
If you think about it, though, winning organizations find ways to win. Losing organizations find way to lose. Chicago is one of those guys. Chicago had a lot of chances to win games last year. They could have beat Washington. But, one guy has to go talk stuff to the crowd and then come back and is the one that's victimized by the Hail Mary. So
forgot the game was still going.
A blocked kick against Green Bay. Green Bay blocked a kick. That could have won them a game. They could have swept them, actually, because they did win the last game against Green Bay. So, I mean, Chicago had a timeout against the Lions that they didn't call, that they should have called. That was another game they could have won. But they didn't do any of these things. Losing organizations find ways to lose. Winning organizations find ways to win. No matter how much bad stuff we put on them, it's the refs that give them the game. It's this that give them the game. Philadelphia is a primary example of that. They weren't the greatest team in the regular season, but they are a winning organization. They found a way to win and get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl.
But I agree with what Jack says. Again, is like talking about Kansas City. They found ways to get there, and some things went their way, but they got exposed in the Super Bowl by
the chefs and refs. Because the chefs and refs, they switched the refs out. That it wasn't them and the crowd no more. It was actual real football. That's what
Super Bowls always expose who you are. If you look at it, like Elway, when he was with the Broncos, he was the only guy on the team basically guiding them to the Super Bowls. But you need a running game in a Super Bowl, and this was obvious every time he went there and got blown out. You can't stop the other team because you can't run the ball effectively, and if they shut down the passing game, then you're screwed. But then once he got Terrell Davis, he won back-to-back championships.
Yeah, even without the ref controversy, though, I felt like Patrick Mahomes just does not look like a solid ball tosser. Anytime his passes look wild and just all over the place, and they just luckily fall in somebody's hands.
That's a question too. Is Patrick Mahomes really the best quarterback right now?
No.
Forget his reputation. Forget what he's done. Let's throw that out the window. Currently, if we have to say who's the best quarterback, we're not sure about Patrick Mahomes at this moment. I'm not sure. I can't say he's better than Josh Allen at this moment. Joe Burrow, maybe he is.
The true test is send him to another team. Send him to the Browns or send him to the Jets and see how he does there. And then you can say, is he the quarterback or is it the team that you're on?
No one can be good as Jet quarterback, so that's not fair.
Absolutely. Listen, guys, we're at the top of the hour here. This has been fun as always. Jet, before you hop off of here, I have Linda texted me when the show started, so I have permission to mention this during the show. Are you supposed to be out this week or something?
I'm doing tomorrow's show, tomorrow morning, and then I'm going to be out, Wednesday and Friday. I won't be doing Glove Fist tomorrow night. Monday night, and I won't do Wednesday or Friday show.
So what we'll do is Jack and I will be on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and then we'll show you guys the best of the Mac and Jack show on replays. Thank you guys for all the likes, love. Download the Roku app so you can see us all day, every day. Bistro and myself will be on this afternoon at 4 with the 1 A Cheek 3 Toes podcast. as well. So stay tuned for that NFC East divisional debate coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that, everybody, we wish you guys all the best. And we thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great week. Happy Sunday. And y'all keep it gangsta.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
You're watching National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV.